Okay, I'm in my car. I'm stopped at a very long traffic light. I know this light well. I used to live in this area. And, yeah, take a look at me now. It's a mess. And I have gel holding this down because my hair is like all over the place. Yeah, it's driving me nuts. Hi, everybody. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Yeah, huh? I feel much better having a haircut. And I thought I'd talk about a little bit. Isn't it funny sometimes what people get angry enough to protest and head out on the streets to protest? I find some of the things we protest because it's all about a name or perception. And we don't really necessarily think things through. So I just wanted to cover a situation we have here in Ottawa. Like most cities, you have your areas that are considered, high-end, very expensive, luxury condo places and single homes, and then you have family-friendly areas, you have business areas like the downtown core of a city. Every city has that area that's known as, that's not the best neighborhood in the city kind of thing, right? Wrongly or correctly, right? Sometimes it's a reputation from years and years and years ago. I know when I used to live in this part of the city, it's this part of our city called Vanier. It was pretty run down. It was definitely the poor neighborhood in the city. Numerous cash check, payday loan places and pawn shops and ladies of the evening and all that in that neighborhood was completely all over the place. That's what it was known for. And the cities have been trying to clean that area up and bring in new businesses and beautify the area more with different types of incentives and things like that. So here, I just want to, let me just go over a situation here. So they have offered this business improvement tax incentives. And now what it is it's a tax forgiveness over a period of time. So the city isn't giving any business any money. What they will do is they'll forgive a percentage of the tax that they owe the city for a certain amount of time. So say you owe $1 million, well, over 5 years, we'll say out of that $1 million, you only have to give us $500,000. But you're still getting $500,000 from that business if they do certain improvements. So like if they expand and make the building beautiful and add more condos to the unit, anything like that. Something that beautifies the neighborhood, shall we say. An improvement in the looks of the neighborhood and might bring in more businesses, that sort of things, right? It just, there doesn't seem anything too wrong with that, and they've had this in place for a while. There's new condo, big, huge city plans in Vanier for this beautiful condo area with rental properties, and there's been building new housing in that area. And one of the businesses in the city has been there over 60 years. It's a family-run business and has been a business in Vanier for over 60 years. And they saw that the city was offering if you were to build a new building and expand, and they applied to see if they qualified. They were thinking on expanding their business onto this other area. And the building itself would cost around $17.5 million, would create jobs in the area for, the construction jobs, and the taxes from that building would go from $35,000 to $300 and some thousand a year. So 10 times the amount it would currently pay on that area because of the size and the type of building they wanted to build in that area. So they applied, and the city approved it because the deal was the city over 10 years was going to forgive $2.9 million of that business's tax. However, the tax that that business would have to pay is $3.9 million. So they're paying $1 million more during this time than the tax break. The current tax they're paying is $300,000. If you take that over 10, that's only $335,000 over 10 years. The city is actually ahead $700,000 by just forgiving the tax. The city is actually getting more money than they would if they didn't give this tax break to the business. And so that sounds like good financial sense, right? We're going to get a brand new building. Who knows? It might attract new business, and we're actually going to make more money. We're not losing any money. We don't have to shell out any new money or anything like that. Sounds like a good idea, right? And everyone, you know, if I just put it to you, a business, if I just said a business, right? Here's the problem. It's a Porsche dealership. So now you might be going, oh, a Porsche dealership. That's luxury cars. That's rich people money. So what? So what? It's not like the city is paying money. The city is not there's no money coming out of the city coffers to do this. In fact, the city's going to make money doing this. They offer this program to all businesses. You know, what would it have made a difference if this was a giant check cashing store, a payday loan store that was going to open up in the neighborhood? At what point do you say we're going to do this incentive to try and attract more business and get better business and a better look for our city? But we're only going to do it to the ones that we handpick what type of business it can be. You can't do that. You have to come out and say, here is our opportunity. You apply. If you meet the qualifications, you can get the grant. If we're not going to have to pay money, if we're going to gain in the long run, and if it's going to make our city look better. It doesn't matter that I can't afford a Porsche. I'll never go to that Porsche store and buy a Porsche. I can't afford it. I never will be able to afford it unless I won the lottery last night and I didn't check my numbers yet. But shouldn't be the criteria. The criteria shouldn't be that every single person living in the area of Vanier should be able to go into that store. Otherwise, they shouldn't be able to do the grant. That's not the way things work, right? If it had been, hey, we're going to put in this big luxury hotel that's going to cost $400 a night to stay there. Well, I'm quite sure a lot of people in Vanier could not afford $400 a night for that hotel, but I guarantee you we wouldn't be having these protests. People would say, wow, oh, we're getting this big luxury resort, and maybe we'll get a casino in there, and maybe we'll get some entertainment in there, and maybe we'll get this and that and this and that. But because it's a luxury car dealership that's been loyal to Vanier for over 60 years, it's a family-run business. Forget that it's a Porsche dealership. Just think that it's a car dealership that's been in that area through the bad times, the good times, the poor times, for 60 years in that neighborhood and never left. And now they want to build a bigger building at no extra cost to the city. In fact, the city will make more money. And at the end of the 10 years, they're making all of that tax revenue from that dealer. And if signs of history or anything, that Porsche dealer's been around for 60 years. It's not going anywhere in 10 more years. It's managed to survive this long. And so I think people got hung up on the name Porsche, because even the protesters that went down And that's what I find. They actually did a sit-in outside the area where they're thinking on building this thing. And they held up signs like, please, won't somebody think of the Porsche dealers and the Porsche owners? It's not about what they sell. It's about fair business. You know, if this was any other business other than a luxury car business, nobody would be saying anything. If this was a Giant Tiger, if this was a Hudson Bay, if this was a Walmart, nobody would say anything. And you do not have the right to dictate to, you know, in your laws and everything about what sort of businesses, you know, that can only apply for, you know, we're going to limit this to only family-friendly, environmentally sound, diverse portfolio that's going to donate a certain amount of money to different charities. No, life doesn't work that way. Did this business qualify under your current grant? Yes. Then they deserve to be able to do it. Especially, it's not a business coming from someplace else that's wanting to open. These people have been here for 60 years in that neighborhood. I don't care what they're selling. They deserve anything that anyone else can get. But boy, did we get hung up on the fact that it's a Porsche dealership. Like I said, if this was a Walmart, there would have been no protests, no big thing in City Hall, no media coverage, no nothing. Even if Walmart had only been in the area for 6 weeks and applied for this grant, no one would have said anything. But because it's a Porsche dealership, people lost their minds.